If finding the right savings account feels overwhelming to you, I'm going to try to keep it simple and not only explain what you should look for in a good savings account, but I'll also tell you the banks I like for savings accounts and why. Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. If you know me, you know that I'm passionate about working toward financial independence, and a savings account is a small but important part of that creative journey. And just a friendly reminder before we get started that I am not a financial advisor, so before you make any decisions with your money, you should consult a professional and do your own research. I'd also like to say that I am not affiliated with or receiving any compensation from any of the banks I mentioned today. This is just my opinion based on research I've done for myself. One of the first criteria I look for in a savings account is a high yield. What this means is that the interest the bank pays you as they hold your money is much higher than the average savings account. But don't be fooled by their fancy words. Some banks like to use creative marketing to make you think they are high yield, when in fact, other banks have much better offers. You see, a bank is making money on your money while they hold it because they are often lending out a high percentage of their consumers' money and making interest on it. So, a bank that offers you a high yield interest rate is basically allowing you to be part of the profits they are bringing in on your money. So, for example, let's say I opened a basic savings account with Chase. They offer an interest rate of 0.01% interest, which is basically nothing. If you had $10,000 in a savings account with Chase, at the end of 1 year, you would have earned $1 in interest. But let's say you open an account with Ally, which is where I have an account. At the time of this recording, Ally is offering 4.25% interest on a savings account. So if you had $10,000 in that account at the end of 1 year, you would have earned $425 in interest. I don't know about you, but I think $425 is way better than $1 and worth taking a few minutes on my phone to open an account. And imagine the difference if you had a lot more money in the savings account. The thing is, there is absolutely no reason I can find for anyone not to have a high yield savings account instead of just a regular savings account. It's not like you're paying additional fees or something, which is another thing to check for. Make sure they aren't charging you some sort of hidden fees. Okay, so you can always just do a Google search to see what banks are offering the best high yield rates. But remember, a lot of the blogs or links you may be looking at are affiliate links, meaning the owner of the blog or website you're looking at is likely getting a commission for you to sign up with the banks they recommend. And I'm not saying that they're not being completely honest, but they will sometimes give the first place recommendation to the bank or service who is going to pay them the most commission for conversions. So you just have to make sure you don't just trust blindly. Now, even though you can search and see the highest yield savings accounts, there are a few other things that I think are important too. The next item you need to check off the savings account list is making sure the bank you are choosing for your savings account is FDIC insured. This means that if the bank fails, your money is protected by the government, generally up to $250,000 per account you have. Now, I generally wouldn't recommend that you keep over $250,000 in a savings account, but if for some reason you were holding that much in savings, you would need to get another savings account with a second bank for everything over $250,000. I think you get the idea, but you just want to make sure that in the case of a bank failing, which unfortunately hasn't been the most uncommon thing in the US, that your assets are protected. Okay, so now that you've found a bank with a high yield savings account that has no extra fees and you know it's FDIC insured, I think the next thing I'm looking for personally is ease of use paired with good customer service. And I'm saying this from experience because I recently learned that lesson with a friend. Here was the scenario. I already had a high yield savings account open with Ally and I love it. It's always been easy to use. One of my best friends was wanting to open a high yield savings account and I was helping her to look at the best rates available. We found that Citibank had a better available rate than Ally. I told her that I had 2 Citi credit cards that I had used for years and I always had a good experience with them. Well, based on that information, she opened the account with Citi. And I have no idea what the experience is like for other people, but although it was pretty easy to open the account and transfer her funds into the account, when she needed to move a large amount of the funds, there were tons of issues. The customer service was very difficult, and honestly, it was the biggest mess that took months to sort out. Now, I'm not trying to say that anyone else would have that experience with Citi, but I certainly won't be opening a savings account with them anytime soon based on what I saw her go through. I'm okay making just slightly less in interest with Ally to have an account with a bank where I have always had excellent customer service and no funny business with my money. While I was doing my research for this video, I decided to start looking at what the highest interest rates are currently and also did a little searching for customer reviews. A common theme I see, even with Ally, is a story similar to my friends. When you want to move a large chunk from your savings, well, the bank doesn't like that and they may flag it as fraud. Of course, they'll tell you that it's to protect you, but it can really be a pain. After thinking about it for a bit, I realized that probably all of the banks out there are going to try to slow down the process of you moving large chunks of money from any account. The best way I can think to lower the chance of issues would be to call the bank in advance and let them know you are planning to move a large sum of money so they can help you avoid any issues. One of the things I really like about Ally is that when I've had to call them, the representatives are super competent and they're available 24 hours per day. When my friend was on the phone with Citi, I listened in on the conversations on speaker and it just didn't have the same level of professionalism. Okay, now let's cover some of the other banks out there that are currently offering high yield interest rates. Brio Direct is one of the current banks that shows up offering a high yield of 5.35%, which is over 1% higher than what I have with Ally. Forbes did a pretty good review of them, showing that their trustworthy rating is only 3.5 out of 5, and it appears they've had some data breach issues in the past. On the other hand, they are FDIC insured, so if you just care about getting the highest interest rate, this might be the option you're looking for. The only caveat is that you need a minimum of $5,000 to open the savings account at this rate. The next bank listed that has a high yield of 5.25% interest is UFB Direct. Similar to Ally, they have no minimum deposit requirement, they are FDIC insured, and they have customer service 24 hours a day. They don't have as many other type of account options as Ally, so if you're looking for a bank that can service other needs, they may not be the one. But if you're simply looking for that high yield, it might be worth looking into. Tab Bank is going to come in really similar to Ally in a lot of ways. Ally does offer a few nice things that Tab doesn't, like no overdraft or ATM fees, but when it comes specifically to the high yield savings accounts, Tab definitely beats Ally with a current rate of 5.27% interest. Of course, they are FDIC insured. They do not have 24/7 customer service, but they do have reasonable hours. It's one of those banks that if you're just going to use it for high yield savings and you are going to put money in there and just forget about it, not making lots of transfers or needing to use an ATM all the time, it could be a really good option. The next bank I want to mention is Genius Bank. They are FDIC insured, currently offering a 5.25% interest rate on a savings account, and they have no minimum deposit to open the account. They aren't a full service bank, so you can't also open like a checking account. Like some of the others I mentioned, they may be best if you are just looking for a place to stick your high yield savings. They also offer 24/7 human customer support. One thing I didn't mention earlier in the video is that generally banks that are offering high yield savings accounts don't have brick and mortar locations. Like you can't go down the road and walk into the bank. I personally feel like this is the future of banking, but it has also created an opportunity for so many of these digital first banks to open. A while back it seemed like Ally and a few other banks were the main contenders, but now there are so many. Every time I Google about monthly interest rates, there are new banks popping up that I've never heard of before. If I were you, I would look into the banks I've mentioned and many others to see what is going to be the best fit for you. Just remember to follow that checklist. High yield interest rate for savings, FDIC insured, no monthly or annual fees, easy to use mobile app, and then throw in good customer service if you can find it. Another thing to keep in mind is that interest rates will often change monthly. If the interest rate with the Fed goes down in the coming years, then the interest rate offered from the banks will go down as well, and this conversation won't be as important. But it still matters if you can make a little bit more money with the money you have in savings. Now, don't use this as a primary investing strategy. For me, I only keep my emergency savings in a high yield savings savings account. The rest of my money is out there making bigger gains. I sure hope this video has been helpful to you. Do me a favor, tell me about what banks you like best in the comments, and also the ones to stay away from. Then like this video and subscribe to join me every day where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.